What's up guys, this is SnowAxePlox with another unboxing and first impression videos for some custom Gamecube controller buttons. This time around I'm going to be reviewing MultiShine, which you can find on the Etsy website. Now they do sell other things other than buttons. They do sell some enamel pins if you're interested in that. You can check out their website. I'll have a link down below just for you guys. MultiShine from Etsy. Now this is the packaging that they have it in, which is a brown box. I'm actually kind of surprised that it came in a box like this. Normally you would get like those yellow manila packets or whatever with the bubble wrap inside them. So I'm kind of interested to see how they managed to pack everything in here and how they decided to keep it safe. Of course, ignore the little electrical tape here. That's just to my address. I don't want you guys coming to my house. Even though I know most of you guys are probably not interested in what my droll life is like. Alright, so let's get at it. Let's open this bad boy. Get rid of this tape right here. So while I'm struggling to cut open with this nice knife over here, I did purchase 2 sets of buttons. I forgot what color I had ordered for myself, but I did buy a couple green buttons for my friend.
There we go.
Alright, now that we got this open, let's go check out what is inside. Let's see, 1 fold, 2 fold. Oh great, there it is. Oh okay, it looks like I bought orange. So we have some a set of green buttons over here. See, green buttons. I'll set these aside. These are actually for my friend, so I'll let him check it out for himself. And we have some orange buttons. This is for myself. This is what we're going to be checking out, so set this aside. And then also 2 more things, which are some pins that I bought. So a Fox Shine enamel pin. This is kind of sick. So that's for myself. And then also another, because I love GameCube controllers so much, here is a GameCube controller pin. Neat-o. It's a bit dark, you can't really see it too well. There it is, it's like a tiny GameCube controller. Okay, so let's get to the buttons. So with this company, MultiShine, they actually give you more than just the A, B, X, Y. They actually give you the start, the D-pad, and if you can see, they give you triggers also. So that's pretty neat. Actually, wait, where is the start button? I guess they don't have a start button. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the start button was hidden in the triggers. Now I do have a couple of other custom triggers, but because I'm mainly looking at buttons, I'm going to set these aside for now. I will put them onto the GameCube controller, but I won't be really doing a first impression over these. I might say a few things about it, but I'm going to just set them aside for now. Okay, so looking at these buttons, wow, they are nice. So if you check out their website on the Etsy, you can see that they said that these are resin casted, but these do not look resin casted at all. These look like they are injection molded. Mainly because you can tell, because normally for resin casted buttons you wouldn't have something as precise as this, like you can see right here. See if I can get it to focus. Let's see, right here you can see in the back, wow, that's neat, that it's kind of a little bit hollow. Now I do have some custom buttons from Controller Chaos, which are somewhat similar in that they are injection casted and they look pretty similar to this. So that's just what I'm saying. I don't, if they advertise that they are resin casted, maybe they are resin casted, but they don't really feel like it. And I don't exactly know if I can tell the difference between the plastics or whatnot just by hand. So just you heard it from me. These might be injection casted, they might be resin, I'm not sure, but they're really nice. Wow. Normally I would be looking at like the grade, but it really looks super close to like normal GameCube controller buttons. So with that, this is the A button. There it is. There's that textured A, and of course it's glossy, just like the normal GameCube controller buttons has that glossy texture. This one does too, so wow. Let's set this one down. Here is the B button. Ooh, same thing. Got that, it has that B button texture, and look at that. Neat. Let's look at the X and Y button. X and Y. It's kind of a little bit less glossy than the GameCube controller buttons. I'll pull up for comparison later, but hold on. But let's just check these out right now. Wow, X and Y. And then in the back, wow. I don't know, man. They don't really look like they're resin casted. They even have these like pull tabs right. They have these. I don't know, man. Really skeptical about that. All right. Let's look at the start button. Of course, the start button is nothing too spectacular to look at. It doesn't actually have it. Actually, it's a bit different. So normally you'd have that little kind of matte texture on top of the start button, but this one's just glossy. So that's a little bit different from the GameCube controller, and it's got a plus over here, cross, neat. And then here is the D-pad. The D-pad, of course, this one does have that kind of matte texture to it rather than being glossy, so that's nice. Cool. So neat. I do have some GameCube controller buttons right here. We can do a comparison, so let me pull these out. So, alright, and here are the GameCube controller buttons. These are the original OEM parts. Let's do a little bit of comparison. Wow. So you can see that they're both pretty glossy, but that the A for the GameCube controller one, the original GameCube controller buttons, is way more glossy. Like, you can see it. It's still glossy, but it's not so much. But the difference in size is it doesn't look like there's a really big difference in size. Look at that. Wow. So like with all the buttons, we'll do a comparison, kind of standing upright. You can't really, yeah, there it is. You can't really see any difference there. And so here's the bottom. They look nearly identical. There's a little bit difference here because the A button has this little kind of like extra little plastic over here. I don't know what that's for, but you don't see it on the MultiShine buttons here. So that's a little bit of a difference. Set aside the A button. Next, moving on to the B button. And it's going to be the same case with the glossiness. The B button feels like really, really glossy. So like your finger just kind of slides through this. This one still is glossy, but it's just not as glossy. I don't know if you'll be able to like really, really tell it through the camera, but you can feel a difference. Let's check out the heights. Wow, it's very close. Nearly super identical. And the back, wow. Look at that. Okay, let's set down the B button. So we have the X, Y, the Y and X buttons. We'll start with X. Of course, like the other buttons I did mention, the glossiness is not the same, but it's not too big of a difference. See the height. Very close. The size looks like a jelly bean. The jelly bean buttons. And then the back. Wow. I've got it spot on, really. And then the Y button, we'll just glance over that because it's just like the X button. Does it look a little bit smaller? Maybe it's just an illusion. Yeah, I don't think it looks a little bit smaller. Alright, those are the sizes, and then here is the back. Wow, okay. Neat. Now, I did mention that the start button is a little bit different. This one has a really glossy, excuse my nails. This one has a really glossy kind of like texture to it. And the original start button actually has a matte texture to it. If you guys are very familiar with GameCube controller buttons, you'll know that this has you can feel the texture on the start button, but it's like, really honestly, the start button is not that big of a deal. Wow, they got the little cross on the bottom here. Very, very, very close to original. I know it's very difficult to see. There we go. And then we have the D-pad. D-pad doesn't really matter, guys. The D-pad always feels super bad. I know it, everyone knows it, but it looks a little bit different actually. So right here, it kind of looks like they messed up over here, where it's supposed to have that little like flat spot. They kind of like have it extended out like that, but I'm pretty sure it won't be an issue on the controller. Oh snaps, just dropped the D-pad. Okay. So here's the back. Wow, everything is super, super similar. Nice. Okay, so let's put this on the controller and see how it feels. And okay, we are back with the buttons set up. So, wow, I do have to say that white and orange does look amazing together. I did put on the triggers also just to see how it looks, but man, it does look great. We do have this little stand over here. Let me move aside these buttons and check it out through the stand. Wow. Oh no. There goes my background. So nice. So check that out. Wow, that's pretty neat. Let's just rotate this thing. Check out the side view. And then check out the back with the triggers. That looks real neat. I know the purple Z button is a little bit off-putting, but it does look really nice from if you just kind of like ignore that aspect, which I know is not really that possible to ignore. It's so bright, but it looks great. So I mean, first of all, we can see that it looks really, really nice. Like it looks like it fits there pretty solidly. Normally, an issue I have with these kind of custom buttons is that sometimes they're a little bit too small, so they don't fit in properly with the controller, so they're a little bit loose. But this one is not as bad as other custom button manufacturers that I've seen. Wow. Okay. So I did mention something about the texture being a little bit off. Normally with GameCube controller buttons, the original buttons, you would feel a lot more gloss. So these kind of like have a slightly different texture. If you like to slide from the X to A or Y to A button a lot, you know, if you like to plink, you know, Y to B if you're doing multi-shines, these kind of grip onto your thumb a little bit more than the original GameCube controller buttons, and that's because they just aren't as glossy. They're just not, so your fingers won't slide as easily. But that being said, it probably won't affect your play too much because that's just kind of like a pretty simple like motor skill. Unless you really need that extra gloss on your controller, it probably won't affect it that much. The buttons do feel a little bit different from the original GameCube controller buttons. It might be something to do with how the edges are kind of like rounded, but it does feel a little bit off. Keep in mind though that this little pad over here are Smash 4 pads for if you know what I'm talking about, the little button pad that goes inside the controller. That's kind of like the rubber mechanism that lets it kind of push down and activate the buttons. That is a Smash 4 pad right there. So Smash 4 controller pad. So if you're familiar with those pads, they are just a little bit slightly taller, I believe, than the other buttons. Than like say an original GameCube controller from like way back then. So that could be the effect. But it just kind of feels a little bit taller. I'm not sure if that's really the case, but it does feel a little bit different. In terms of like lightness and how much effort it takes to press, it's definitely very similar to original GameCube controller. I know for Smash Proof and for not so much Shine Wave, but for Smash Proof buttons, they do kind of have a heavier feel to it. So if you press your buttons pretty hard, you're pretty heavy with your buttons, that's what you would kind of like. But these, they feel really similar. The button press feels like takes no effort at all, just like the original GameCube controller buttons. So that's nice. We have the start button, of course. That's not going to be too much different. And I think it's just the plastic itself just kind of has a different texture to it. So You are missing that textured part on the start button, but it really feels the same just because the start button is just such a small button. The D-pad, of course, D-pad feels like trash, just like the original GameCube controller D-pad, so really no difference there. We did see a little bit of kind of like I don't know what it is, but it was kind of messed up, but it definitely does not affect the usage of the D-pad. I mean, really, how often are you going to be using the D-pad anyway? Yeah, so these are my first impressions. I won't talk about the triggers, but keep in mind this is not a full review. I am eventually going to get to like a mega button review where I go over all of the buttons that I have purchased from different companies, but that might not be until sometime later. I do have to try it out actually playing Smash in order to really get my full like review over the buttons. But for these, if you're interested in solid colored buttons, they're not bad. They're really similar to the original GameCube controller in terms of like pressing, like effort to press, and with like how glossy they are, but not really exact. There's just something slightly off to it, and I just can't put my finger on it. Really, I know this is first impression. Usually you'd want a little bit more confidence when you come and buy something, but it's a little bit hard to explain. It just doesn't feel exactly like original GameCube controller buttons. But if you want some pizzazz and you don't want any like painted buttons that can chip, these are definitely worth it. Plus they look sick. Look at that. With the orange and white just works so well together. I can only imagine what it'd look like with green too. Green would probably look sick. Anyway, so that is my first impression and unboxing video over the MultiShine buttons. I hope you guys find this information pretty useful. I know I go on rambling a lot, but you can, if you're interested in these buttons, you can check out the link below for the Etsy website, and let me know what you guys think. Peace out. Peace. Cut. Whatever.